When that battle was going down, when it took place, was there anything that he said that made you go, woo? He hit me hard with that.
Nah, because I was in it. So I wasn't viewing it from a statistical point of view. I was like, you know, I felt there was things that was said that was over the line that made me say things that was over the line.
Yo, listen.
Was it a sad day in Rockefeller?
Yo, listen.
Let's just be clear. I just feel like y'all niggas are too rich to care, but I'm feeling like...
Nah.
Niggas scared?
Niggas scared, B. Niggas scared. It was silent in baseline. That shit was like a body dropped in baseline. It was like, yo, we gotta get our gun and kill a nigga. What the fuck?
It's been over 20 years since Nas released his legendary diss track Ether, a response record to Jay-Z's Takeover, which came out in the same year, 2001. Both of these songs are widely regarded as hip-hop classics and mark the climax of their iconic feud that started in the late 90s. You can check out my beef analysis video for an in-depth historic breakdown. But the main topic of this video is the original version of Ether, the first version that never got released. The one you hear on the Stillmatic album is actually the second version, almost like an entirely different song with a different beat and completely different verses. The beat that was used on the album was actually produced by Ron Browse and originally not intended for the song Ether. It was just a random beat he got from his manager at the time, Steve Stout. Nas didn't like it at first and pushed it to the side like other beats that didn't make it on the album.
That was the first beat that I had that I gave Nas, not for Ether. And Nas, he didn't like the shit. And I was nervous. I thought Nas's career was over.
He actually picked a different beat for the first version of Ether, which was produced by Swizz Beatz. According to rapper and producer Large Professor, ex-member of the group Main Source, the song was faster, noisier, and the lyrics were more offensive than the final version on the album. Now, just like the album version, it had 3 verses on it. Unfortunately, only 2 of them got leaked so far. We only know about 1 bar from the 3rd verse, which referenced the plane crash that caused the death of the singer Aaliyah.
As a matter of fact, the first beat he really wrote to was a Swizz Beatz beat. It was a lot more energy and a lot more hype.
I'm sure you heard of, you know what I'm saying, the Dame Dash plane crash and all that, the shit with the rhymes and shit.
No,
it's like,
actually.
Sorry Aaliyah, I'm sorry it was you in the plane crash. It should have been Jay and Dame Dash. He was getting at him. That was the original lyrics. Yo, you know, it should have been you in the plane crash. You know all of that. When the original, those was the original lyrics.
You said that Nas watered down his lyrics for the, I guess, the final beat there because I guess he took out the Aaliyah.
Yeah, for sure.
The 3rd verse on the album version was actually supposed to be Jay-Z's Burial. It was twice as long as the first 2 verses, more personal and more vicious. Jay kinda did the same on the Takeover. The 3rd verse was added later on and is actually longer than the previous 2 verses. So Nas might have tried to mimic that song structure. But Columbia Records was seemingly unhappy with his lyrics on the original version and made him re-edit the vocals up to 3 times. He apparently had to take out a few lines as they were too controversial. So in the end he decided to scrap the whole song and start from scratch. They unfortunately have destroyed the original masters, which means the original version will most likely never come out. The only traces left are the first 2 original verses in text form, which I will now talk about in detail. First verse. So you call yourself a god MC, Jehovah. Drunk the glass of blasphemy and forgot to pray over. Your game's over. Crossed the warpath of a brave soldier. You're a makeover. My protege trying to take over. Nas starts off by directly responding to the opening verse of the Takeover. He mimics Jay's cadence and rhyme pattern to accuse him of blasphemy.
The takeover, the break's over, nigga. God MC, me, Jehovah.
Jay always calls himself Hove, Hover, or Jehovah, which is a reference to the proper name of the God of Israel in the Old Testament. Nas calls him out for being a delusional, megalomaniacal, and blasphemous backstabber that crossed the line by dissing his teacher. He continues by comparing Jay to an ungrateful sheep under his control that receives food and shelter but never respect. I was the shepherd that led you, but you bit the hand that fed you. Mad 'cause since I met you, I never did respect you. This is also a response to Jay calling himself the King of New York after Biggie passed in '97. Jay made an entire song for that called The City Is Mine.
And I let the world world know that the city is mine. What?
Nas could never respect him for that, as Jay was a nobody when Biggie was around, basically just Biggie's sidekick. And after Big passed, Jay all of a sudden said he's better than him, which Nas addressed on the album version of Ether. It was executed perfectly. Nas came off as a humble rapper that everybody underestimated, while Jay looked like a megalomaniacal buffoon who thinks he's untouchable. But Nas could have shot himself in the foot with the last line of verse 2. Fuck skeletons, keep only weaponry in my closets. Having skeletons in the closet means hiding an embarrassing or discreditable fact from the public. So Nas is basically denying that there is something embarrassing that could be used against him. That being Jay-Z's affair with the mother of Nas's daughter, Destiny. Him staining Nas's Jeep with body fluids and leaving condoms in the baby seat. Nas actually removed all the references to Carmen on the final version of the song, so it was indeed something embarrassing that he was trying to hide. And it was a smart decision in my opinion. I mean, addressing the affair is what Jay wants Nas to do. It would validate some of Jay-Z's hardest punches and accusations. Rap is the genre or sport of macho men, if you think about it. You can't show any weaknesses in a battle, or else you will make yourself vulnerable and lose. I mean, what's the point of admitting that the affair took place and everything he said is true, and then saying, I have nothing embarrassing to hide? You are contradicting yourself and making it easier for him. Having a kid with a woman like that, Jay getting to do whatever he wants with the mother of his child behind his back for over 5 years, doing it everywhere, even in Nas's own car. Jay-Z was just a disgusting human being back then. But anything goes in a battle, as you know. Nobody has to obey any rules. Anyway, those were the 2 leaked verses. The third one unfortunately hasn't leaked yet. It probably won't come out anytime soon. At one point they decided to scrap the whole song, threw the beat and the vocals in the trash, and started from scratch using the beat that Nas's manager Steve Stout gave him months ago.
So we're not working on this shit together, and like, he calls me in, the album is about to go to mastering, and I go to the studio, and he plays me Ether, and he uses that beat. And I'm listening to this shit, and I'm like, I take off my, we staying here all night. Right. We gotta fix this. This is a mess. Oh. This is a mess. Wow. If this shit comes out, your career is over. But there was a different version of it with the same beat that was terrible.
At this point, Nas had 3 new verses similar to the ones you hear in the final product, but Steve Stout said it was terrible and that Nas's career would have ended if it ever got released in that form. So they re-edited the song again for one last time and ended up with the version we all know and love.